Okay. We're in the 21st century here, I see. Okay. Anyway, I want to, as I always tell people, I want to begin today in the same way we commence all events in Jewish life, and it doesn't matter whether they're tragic or festive. It doesn't really matter where they're taking place, in the synagogue sanctuary, the cemetery, the wedding hall. And that is with reference to the book of Psalms. And Psalms has more than double the length of any other book of the Bible. The Bible's 24 books. It's far, far and away the longest. But more importantly, it's its most profound. It covers the entire range of human emotion and experience. And I'm going to share with you a few readings from the book of Psalms, which we traditionally share at a time of someone's passing. And the idea being that life, as if we needed a demonstration, is fleeting. It quickly, in the psalmist's words, passes and flies away, but it also provides an opportunity for a lasting and enduring legacy. So I want to begin with Psalm number 15. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai mi yagur ba'ohalecha, mi yishkon b'har kodshecha, holech tamim u'foel tzedek v'dover emet bilabavo, lo ragal lishono, lo asar ra'ehu ra'a v'cherpa lo nasal krovo, nivzeh be'einav dimas, vet yirei Adonai yechabed, nishba l'hara v'lo yamir, kaspo lo natan b'neshech, v'shochad al nakilo lakach, osei eila lo yimot le'olam. God, who will dwell in God's sanctuary and who abide upon God's holy mountain? The person who lives with integrity and does what is right. The person who has no slander upon his tongue and does no evil to others. The person who never mistreats his neighbor. The person who never retracts a promise once made. The person who never lends money at interest or accepts a bribe against the innocent. Whoever does these things will stand firm forever. I'm going to read for you just one more psalm briefly before I turn the floor over to others. This is the 23rd psalm. Mizmor LeDavid, Adonai ro'ilach sar, bino deshi yarbitzeni al mei menuchot yanaleni, nafshi yeshovev yancheni b'maglei tzedek l'ma'an shemo. Gam ki elech begate samavet. Lo yirara ki atayim adi shiftecha mishantecha hema yanachamuni. Taroch lefanai shulchan neged zorarai dishanta v'shemen roshi kosi revaya. Achtov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yimei chayai v'shavti b'veit Adonai la'orech yamim. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me upon straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you, O Lord, are with me. Your rod and staff comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You've anointed my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So at this time, traditionally, we have opportunity for what we call in Hebrew a spade. In English, I guess we would call it a eulogy. And it's a chance to do a little bit of remembrance. And while we can't really cover everything in just a few moments, we are bidden to take some time for some reflection. And so I want to call upon three really groups of speakers who are going to reflect upon Neal's life. And I ask you to direct your attention to them for the next number of moments. So I think first we'll call upon Abby. I think Abby should go first. It's okay. Where's Abby? There she is. Okay.
just need a minute. The Midrash says, every time a person increases their good deeds, they earn themselves a new name. There are 3 names by which a person is called. One by which their parents call them, one which people call them, and one which they earn for themselves. The last is the best of all. Sorry. Neal Larry Morse earned the name friend, father, husband for himself like no other. Rosalind, Jeremy, Max, and Everett, you can reflect with pride and joy on a man whose why to live was based on the purest of love. That was the most beautifully apparent in his name, son-in-law, in which he always tenderly loved and tended to my mother. I met Neal when I was 13 years old. And my first real interaction with Neal is when he came to NOLA with Rosalind, and he and I were up early. And I asked Neal if he would like some eggs for breakfast. And he said, sure. And I said, how many? And he said, a dozen. He got 10. And just like that, I had a brother in my life who soon taught me he had another name, the greatest Alabama fan ever. Roll Tide. Thank you. In the end, the truth of the matter is that unconditional love is the ultimate and highest goal to which a man can aspire. And Neal Larry Morse was truly the most loving man I've ever known. Each of us has a name given by the sea and given by our death.
Okay, Abby, I want to thank you on behalf of all of us here for your words about your brother-in-law. Thank you for those. Next, I'd like to call upon very dear friend, close friend, Ned Goldberg. So Ned.
At first glance, Neal Morse and I might have seemed like very unlikely close friends. Besides the fact that our wives, Rosalind and Wendy, had been pretty inseparable friends for decades, Neal and I on the surface seemed not to have too many things in common. For instance, I didn't go to the University of Alabama. I'm not a diehard Crimson Tide football fan, and in fact, I didn't even like their coach, Nick Saban, okay, since he left LSU, although I never had the nerve to admit this to Neal. Would have ruined our friendship. I'm a baseball fan, and I have my teams, but I never worshiped the Atlanta Braves as Neal did. And finally, while I do like to go out to dinner, as the Goldberg and Morse families frequently did, eating out at a nice, trendy, or higher class restaurant has never been the deeply emotional experience for me as it was for Neal Morse. You had to experience it. What developed my friendship and immense love and respect for Neal was the very way he held other people in the highest regard. Neal continually demonstrated to me that he was the ultimate son, brother, husband, father, grandfather, in-law, and uncle. While the number of people here today attests to the fact that Neal deeply valued his friends, work colleagues, and fellow members of Shir Chadash, Neal's family always came first, and his devotion to his family always directed his life. I admired Neal Morris in part because I saw him as what I called a true believer, and I'll finish my remarks with a few examples. Neal believed that he needed to live with his own conscience. Neal was the most honest and modest person I have ever known. 2, Neal believed in treating everyone with ultimate respect, even the difficult customers in his parents' grocery store, or the difficult customers in his furniture store, or the difficult customers in his mattress business. 3, Neal deeply believed in any product or service that he ever marketed or sold, whether it was the furniture or accounting services. If he told you it was the best service or product he could give you or was on the market for the price, he believed it without question. Neal believed. 4, Neal believed in philanthropy and volunteer work. His efforts were only limited by the time he devoted to his family and the 6 days a week he seemed to work 12 months a year. And finally, Neal believed in humor. He balanced all of his deep values, hard work, determination, love, and energy with the ability to tell a joke and make you laugh. I think that Neal will be honored to know that we remember him with tears, but we also remember him with a smile. Neal, we all miss you.
Okay, and would you like to say, Achron Achron Chaviv, we
when you could get three for a nickel. He would say, truly making a positive impact on anyone who's ever met him, so much so that even our friends called him Dad. He blessed us with his love of food, music, sports, and film, attributes which shine brightly in all 3 of us. Not to mention, we could always count on him having a dad joke locked and loaded and ready to go. His compassion, selflessness, and constant sacrifice for all of his loved ones is what separated him from being a great dad to being the best dad. His love for his family was the air he breathed. He was the person that everyone looked to when the going got tough, and he always knew what to do and how to do it while explaining it to us in the most calm and patient and loving manner. When we had loved ones that passed quickly, it is us that suffers the most. When they pass over a long period of time, it is them that suffers the most. So as the pain of this sting hurts us greatly at this moment, it also allows us to understand what a legend he truly was and how blessed we were to have been a part of his story. As my mom always says, when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. And I think we can all agree that the one person that deserved no suffering out of all of us is our Father. I hope everyone here can find peace in that. Seeing every one of you throughout the last week and the love, support, and joy that you have shown us has brought us so many fond memories about our dad. We are grateful to have so many of you all here with us today and blessed to have such a great man in our lives for the time that we did. Thank you for keeping us laughing until your last breath, Dad. Only you could have done that. We love you so very much and know you're smashing a giant pastrami sandwich with a Dr. Brown's black cherry and nectar soda ice cream to follow. Roll Tide. Go Braves. Who dat? And rest easy, Pop Pops.
Jeremy, Max, everyone, thank you so much for sharing. And what can I say? I just want to had a few thoughts of my own based on a really beautiful and lovely conversation I had an opportunity to have with with Rosalind and with the family. It was very, very lovely. And we sat in the meeting room of Shir Chadash yesterday. And I want to try to reflect some of the important points. I want to start with an observation. Yesterday, of course, was the first night of Hanukkah, and tonight will mark the second of Hanukkah. And if you want to light the menorah correctly, of course, you know that the candles are placed in the menorah from the right to the left, but they are lit in the opposite direction. They're lit left to right. So why would it be that we place them one way, but light them in the opposite direction? I'm not sure I can answer that exactly, but I'm going to take a try, from a homiletical point of view. Our lives are built in chronological order. The experiences we have are built on what went in the past, and they take it higher, hopefully, than was previously the case. But the light we have to attend to first is the one that's newest, that needs the most attention. We always have to start. We have to start with what's the most current, even if it's built on all the previous nights. So Neal's life began as was mentioned, in Gadsden, Alabama. I confess I did not know where Gadsden, Alabama is. I had to look that one up. The only thing I recognize about Gadsden, I think they call those yellow flags with the snakes on them. I think that's called a Gadsden flag. I assume that's the same Gadsden. And the family owned grocery. It was open 7 days a week. It must have, one imagines, been a challenge on many levels to run a very prominent institution that everyone had to use. I mean, everyone has to eat, good or bad times, right? And aside from the usual difficult customers, you had to identify yourself as Jewish, which was not simple in those days, even if it may not be today, but certainly was harder then. And because Neal was younger, there was so much of an age gap. He was something between a sibling and a child, right? Something between your baby and your brother, something between the two. But one of the great acts of salesmanship, I don't know if it's deliberate or not, but you commented that one of the store's favorite items was called bucket meat. And he managed to up it to bucket steak. I don't know if that made it more desirable to command a higher price, but in any case, one man's meat is another man's steak. So why not sell it with maximum panache? Neal and Rosalind, we became part of each other's lives. It's such a really young age, right? If you tell your kid, I'm sure you did. If you tell your kids to just think about the age at which you met and became involved with one another, they will be very surprised, right? To think about it, be very young by the standards of today. As students together at the University of Alabama, right? And there were two things I know that were prominent at the University of Alabama in those days, right? God and Coach Bryant. And I may have reversed the order, I'm not sure. But one of the places where you mentioned, which was so important, other than those, I'm sure, extraordinary games you must have witnessed, was the Hillel, and it became something of a home for the two of you. You were destined to come to New Orleans, right? Because of its food, its culture, its interest. And as was mentioned, Neal had a great love of food. But not all of it was, now some of it is unknown to me. It's too adventurous on many levels for my taste. But I know that he enjoyed many Friday night dinners with your folks, Rosalind, and they loved having him, and he loved being there. And that's a testament to personality, right? I know that those who were the survivors, they were actually really very fine cooks. I ate their cooking. But for somebody who's a foodie, I don't know. It's the same chicken every week. I don't know how they would get but apparently it worked out very well for them. When you establish a home, right, the focus of life changes to the newer candles, to Jeremy, to Max, to Everett, changed to you. You became a big center of life. And you know, all of you, as you described it, took different paths. You had different interests, different abilities, different desires, different goals. I too am the father of 3 only boys. As a matter of fact, I understand how that works. And yet, there was no judgment or preference shown, only, in your own words, complete and unconditional support for you to find your own paths, very different paths that, as far as I can tell, don't really overlap at all, right? Unless you think pharmacy, music, and crypto overlap in some manner, in which case you're more clever than I am. And yet, it didn't really matter. He himself had many, many interests. And sometimes he had a very good ability to make his interests your interests. Your interest, his interest. Sorry, I said it backwards. His interest in music was able to expand, both in terms of genre and also in terms of specific artists over the years. And, you know, your dad's about a decade older than me. And the people you were quoting, I had no idea who they were, I must tell you the truth. And yet, you say Dad knew the music. He familiarized himself and he knew it well. Never missed a baseball practice. Supported all career paths, supported your endeavors. And as others came in, as spouses and grandchildren came, they too became newer candles in life, right? Elaine and Carly, and of course, Landon and Avery, right? Who were just the apple of anyone's eye, including your dad's. And there's an old joke about grandchildren. Do you know what the joke is? If I knew my grandchildren would be so great, I would have had them first. I know that, you know, as a rabbi, you have to preside over the passing of in many, many circumstances, some in which we're prepared and some of which we're not, simply not prepared. We almost have to review the message to make sure we've heard it correctly. As was the case here, it didn't make sense. And I know that Neal had in his mind to retire and go back to devote much more time to charity work, to philanthropic work, to helping others. Very much a part of his past, which he wanted to revisit again. And I told you there's an old saying, even wrote it down for you, right? An old saying in Yiddish, that Mensch trocht und Gott lacht, right? Man plans and God laughs. The divine plans are not subject to human desires. And I know that there's people like Neal, there's always things that you wanted to do, people you wanted to help, others you wanted to reach. And somehow, the only reason you don't reach somebody is you run out of time. Run out of time to do it. But I hope that this is Hanukkah. And I hope we'll think about light which dispels darkness. I hope you'll think that you take it on yourself. You take it on yourself to light the next candle, which Neal would have wanted you to light and to kindle. And I hope every Hanukkah, when you're lighting that menorah, you'll think of all the light that Neal Morris brought into the world. And I hope that someday, maybe not today or tomorrow, but someday, it'll be a great source of consolation and of inspiration for a life extraordinarily well lived. And I want to just express my condolences to the direct mourners, to the children, right, to Jeremy, Max and Everett, to you, Rosalind, and to Beverly and Alan, that you especially will be the guardians of Neal's memory. And I hope to you that that task will be an eternal blessing. I'm going to ask you in just a moment to rise for the recitation of the memorial prayer, and then I have a few announcements which I will make, and then we have to follow the direction of the funeral home so that we can proceed to the interment. But I ask you, please rise if you will for just a moment. Elo aslichot, chanun v'rachum erech apayim v'rav chesed, hamtzei chaparat pesha, v'akravad yeshu menucha nechuna tachat kanfei shchina, b'ma'alot kedoshim u'torim kizor harakia mazhirim, et lishmat Nachum Leb ben Salah Shmuel v'Yosefa shalach olamo, Ana barachamim zachralo letova kol zchuyotav v'tzidkotav b'artzot ha'chaim, uptach lo sha'arei tzedek v'orah sha'arei chemla v'chanina b'seiter kenafecha stirei le'olamim, utzruach hamid nishmato Adonai unachleto v'yanuch b'shalom mishkavo v'namar amen. Elo aslichot, God of forgiveness, you who are gracious and compassionate, patient and abundantly kind, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of Neal Morris, of Nachum Leib ben Salah Shmuel Yosefa, who has gone to his eternal rest. Master of mercy, we beseech you to remember all the worthy and righteous deeds which he performed in the land of the living. May his soul find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his spirit be bound up in the bond of life eternal. The Lord is his portion. May he rest in peace. And let us say amen. First of all, for those who will be continuing on to the site of the interment, this will take place at the Hever Tillim Cemetery, 5000 Iberville, and there is a police escort, I believe. So please do proceed in as orderly a fashion as possible. It's very important that we arrive as a single group, since we really can't go up to the site of the interment except together with the staff of the Hever Tillim Cemetery. For those who would take part in our Shiva Minyanim tonight and tomorrow, this will be at the home of Debbie and Leon Pestis. That's 4808 Toby Lane here in Metairie, and davening is at 7 p.m. both of those evenings, Monday and Tuesday. I'm going to ask that you just remain as you are so that the family can lead us out. And I would like to, on behalf of the family of Neal Morris, to thank everyone for your support today through your attendance at the service here in the Shir Chadash sanctuary.
Those of you who are going to the cemetery, like I said, please will be taken this year. So you have your private card, so that they realize